Hello everybody, this is Javamonk, and welcome back to the Card Game Hub. Today, I would like to announce the opening of a new game in the hub. The game is Egyptian Ratslap. This game is approved for 2 to 20 players. So today, I'd like to show you how to play the game and also how it was adapted into Minecraft. So as a reminder, in order to activate the game, you just flip the switch next to these glowing signs. These will turn on the portals over there. And then in order to enter the game, all you gotta do is just walk into the portal and stand on the red concrete for a little bit. And that will take you to this room. This is kind of the setup room where you can read the rules and also register as a player and adjust some settings related to the player. And then if you want to go back to the hub, you just stand in the sea lanterns for a little bit. So first, let's jump into real life and see how to play this game in IRL.
Hello, welcome to real life. Today I'm going to show you how to play Egyptian Ratslap. So, the game starts off where, let's say we have two friends, or let's say we have three friends playing together. Egyptian Ratslap is a fast and action-paced card game that you can play with as many people as you have cards. So the Minecraft version works for anywhere between 2 and 20 players. That is an awful lot of players. So the game starts off where you take your deck of cards and you split it evenly between everybody. Remaining card goes in the middle. Actually, let's not make it a face card. There we go. So, the goal of the game is to get all of the cards. You want to knock everybody else out of the game. So, here is how gameplay works. Going in a circle, people will place down one of the top cards in their deck. They do not get to see what is in their deck. They just flip up the top card and hope for the best. So in this case, let's go a couple bowling rounds first. So, first person puts a card on top, next person puts a card, next person puts a card, then the next person, then the next person, then the next person, and it just goes in a circle. You'll be making a pile in the middle. Now it'll be useful for the purposes of playing the game that you keep at least, 3 cards just in here, visibly in the middle. And this is simply so that people can see what order the cards come in. That does mean that the deck can very quickly become a mess. When you win cards, you win all of the cards in the middle, and you put them underneath your deck. So, eventually, your deck is going to get huge. There are 2 ways to gain cards playing this game. So, the first method is to be the person to put down a face card. When somebody puts down a face card, it is essentially a challenge. The next person in turn order now has to basically beat the challenge, or else the person who put down the last face card wins all the cards. So, what does that challenge entail? It means they now have to flip up a certain number of cards from their pile and hope that it is a face card. So, in this case, with a king, they have 3 chances to get a face card. So let's see if this person beats it. Yes, they do. So, jacks, queens, kings, and aces are the face cards. So in this case, you can see this person put down a king, so that means you have 3 chances to get a face card. And in this case, the person beat the challenge. Now suppose they didn't. If you have something like this, where they did not beat the challenge, that means the person who put down the face card wins all the cards in the middle. So what happens when a face card challenge is won? Well, here's what that'll look like. This person puts down a king. Next person now has 3 chances to get a face card. So 1, 2, and the third one is a face card. So that means the challenge is won. What does that mean? That means it's up to the next person now to now beat this challenge. The challenge is now you have 2 chances to get a face card, or else the person who put down the last face card wins all the cards. So in this case, that is a 1 and a 2, that the face card challenge was not beaten, and therefore this person, the person who put down the queen, gets all the cards in the middle. Professional YouTuber right there. So the 4 different challenges are: the person puts down a jack, that means you have 1 shot to get a face card. A queen means you have 2 chances. A king, as I saw, means you have 3 chances. And an ace means you have 4 chances. This is purely coincidence. So, jacks are quite cool in the fact that you can very easily win a lot of cards by having a jack show up. Aces, those challenges are very rarely failed. Another way to gain cards is by being fast. So, suppose in the sequence of putting down cards, this occurred. You have 2 cards of the same number. Suit doesn't matter. When this shows up, the first person to slap the deck, hence Ratslap, the first person to slap the deck wins all the cards. And yes, it's the first person to slap the deck. There's going to be other people attempting to slap the deck at the same time. But if you are the first, then you win all of the cards right away. And that does include face cards. If one person puts down a jack, and the next person puts down a jack, the first person to slap that wins everything. Doesn't matter what the face card challenge was. They just win. Slaps override everything. So suppose this came up in the sequence. This person put down an 8, next person puts down a jack. That means the next person now has 1 shot to get a face card. And they fail. But this is a condition where you can slap. So you can slap if you have 2 numbers immediately one after the other, or with 1 card in between, like this. And here you are able to slap. So the first person to slap wins all the cards. Doesn't matter the fact that the other person just lost the face card challenge. So slapping possibilities are 2 numbers right next to each other, card, and then 2 cards with 1 in between. This is called a slam witch. Other slap rules that you can implement as part of the house rules, which are configurable in the game, in the Minecraft version of the game. You can slap when you have a 69 in sequence, or if you have an ace, if you have an ace 2-4 or a 4-2 ace, aka 420. Get it? Because they're funny numbers. This is something that comes up frequently. If you slap when you were not supposed to, so let's say this you can't slap on, but if somebody did just slap, that means they gotta take their top card and burn it, which means putting it underneath the deck, which essentially means you can't slap on that anymore. So you are rewarded for being fast and accurate while playing this game. So if a person runs out of cards, jokers are not part of the game. This is just to mark the fact that there's a 3rd player here. They are not completely out of the game. They are still able to gain cards, but they can only do so through slapping. So people in that situation will have to wait until an opportunity to slap shows up. At which point they can slap the deck, and now they're back in the game. So that is how you play Egyptian Ratslap, the card game. Now, let's see how that was implemented into Minecraft.
Now, to register as a player, all you have to do is walk up to one of these slimes and punch it. If you're not in adventure mode, it'll set you into adventure mode. So you can see what that looks like for the bot player. You can walk up to any slime you want. So here's another player, the bot, over here, about to punch the slime for player 8. And there you go. Once the players are registered, or once you're registered, you can also punch one of these magma cubes to either register to be slapped in. So that means that you will not be given cards on the first round, you can only gain cards by slapping in. You can also punch to not slap in anymore. Not sure why the Magma Cube died. And then you can also punch this to become the first player to start the game. Once all your players are registered, you can then push this button, and that'll open the black stone door to enter the settings room. By the way, this stealing pattern was first featured on OMGCraft. That's where I found that's where I actually saw this pattern. By the way, don't worry about having all your players registered. People can actually leave and enter the game while it's running, which is different from Chinese poker. Chinese poker will probably break if you try to leave or enter halfway through the game. This won't, as long as you register yourself as a player. So, in the settings room, you have a settings guide right here, and you have different switches, and also this button. It's all explained in the book. So, now, all you gotta do to begin the game is push this button, and that'll open the door. So once the door opens, there's a little spirally animation, and you enter the arena. This is an actual arena. This was originally designed by PopularMMOs. So here you go. If you have spectators, they'll get teleported up to the gray glass up there, and they can watch the game from up above. So, yeah, here you go. The cards in the middle are going to be actually in the middle right here, as is the rat that you're going to slap in order to actually slap the deck. So, the game is called Egyptian Ratslap, after all. So, you are going to be slapping this actual rat. Well, maybe not slapping, maybe petting. The hitbox is around here, so it kind of looks like you're petting it. Now, whereas in real life, where you're not supposed to be able to see the top card in your deck, but you could end up accidentally seeing it. Well, in this game, you can't see it. If you look in your inventory, it's just called card. You can't see it in first person. You can't even see it in third person. You would have to, I don't even know what kind of camera angle you would need to get in order to actually see what card you have. I don't think that's even possible. But you can see the fact that the person has the card because you have a little white disc kind of hanging below you. Above the player whose turn it is, there's this blue arrow to indicate that it's their turn. So, during your turn, you have your card, and you play it by pushing the drop item button, which is by default Q. That will put the card in the middle, at which point you can actually see it. And then the turn order moves onto the next player. So in this case, another player pushes Q to play their card, and it continues like this. Yes, that was a slap opportunity, but I'm not gonna show this just yet. Okay. When you have a slap opportunity like this here, one person can then come over to the rat and smack it. At which point, they immediately get all the cards. Now, there is a slap cooldown, which you can adjust in the settings over here. So this is simply because the system that determines whether or not you won the cards from slapping, that happens instantly. And so if somebody were to slap immediately after somebody else slaps, they would be punished and would have to burn a card. And I didn't want that. So during the slap cooldown, you can slap as many times as you want and you won't be punished. So if you have slower players, it'd be good to push the button to increment this. So the settings go in a cycle. You have 1, 3, 5, 10 seconds, as well as 1/10 of a second, half a second, and default is 1 second. Face cards. Okay. So you can see here, another player 2 has the blue arrow because they just placed the king. And now above me, since I'm next in the turn order, I have an orange arrow above me. I will be given 3 cards to place down here. So in this case, I got lucky and got a king first try. If somebody were to slap right now, they would immediately win all the cards and just negate everything. But I'm not going to slap immediately. So now another player has 3 chances to get a face card. Let's see if they succeed. Looks like they do. So once again, turn order rotates. So now another player 2 has 4 chances. And they fail. So another player over there just won the cards. Now you may have noticed there that only the first 5 cards are going to be shown in the middle there. The 6th card and above are just going to be piling up in a stack over here. So now you can see the stakes can get very high. Here's a jack, which means another player 2 has 1 chance to pull a face card. And look at all these cards that are about to be won. Now over here you can see the stack is... So you can't quite measure how tall the stack is, but you can kind of tell just by the thickness of the cards that it's going to be a lot of cards. So here we go. Do they succeed? Yes, they do. I now have 1 chance. I now have 2 chances because it's a queen. So 1 and a 2, and there we go. Another player 2 just won a ton of cards. By the way, if you slap when you're not supposed to, you'll immediately burn a card. So, and the burning cards actually has no cooldown. So if you wanted to quickly get out of the game, you can just burn just a bunch of cards like this, if you really wanted to. So, yeah, the game will not stop you from continuously burning your cards. Just maybe don't burn all of them. This is something This is something I did quite frequently while testing. At least testing what happens when the person runs out of cards. So here we go. The thing is, if a person runs out of cards, but there's a face card event going on and they could potentially win, it won't count as them actually running out of cards, which is good because that means they could technically come back from the dead until the face card transitions over, at which point they're doomed. So here we can see another player is about to run out of cards. So bam, they're out of cards, which means the face card challenge automatically fails. And now another player is on a separate team, the team of Slapped In, which means another player here, they can really do whatever they want, but they can't win any cards anymore. They can only do so by slapping. So you can see here, if me and another player 2 keep playing like this, it'll only pass back and forth between us 2. Another player might as well be out of the game. Which also means that I have my second computer here to control another player 2 and my recording computer over here. So technically we could just mash Q over and over and over and just play ridiculously quickly. And this is totally legit. The only thing that can slow us down is the cooldowns. So importantly, the slap cooldown also determines how quickly the face card challenges get resolved. So the reason why there is a cooldown in between the last person to play a card and the face cards being resolved, that cooldown is in case you can do a slap before the face card is fully resolved. So if you can slap in that in-between time, then the slap overrides everything. What you might also notice is that when slaps happen, cards get put away. So right now you can see that another player 2 has a card, but if I were to slap right now, that card just gets put away. Another player 2 no longer has access to that card, only I have access to the next card, because I won the deck. And there you go. You can see there's fireworks that go off when you win a game, and essentially everything resets. So there you go. That is how to play Egyptian Ratslap in Minecraft. So these buttons over here are really for things that could go wrong. So you have the master reset button, which resets everything. Going to the spectator area, this is only possible if you are actually a spectator, at which point you get teleported up to that area. Resummon the rat. This will happen if, for whatever reason, the rat dies or wanders off or does something weird, then you can resummon it. And give the current player a card. You should never have to push that button, but in case, for whatever reason, cards don't show up, you can just push this button and things reset. So there's some extra settings. First off, you have different kinds of slaps that you can enable. So 69 slaps, we can enable those. 420 slaps, you can enable those. I explained how those work in the IRL version. Increase-decrease slaps. So basically, if you have 2 cards, one immediately after the other, where one is an increase or a decrease from the other, then you can slap. And then the flush slaps, these are extremely rare. I might actually weaken the condition for those. And essentially, if you have a flush, and that's only really possible in this version because you can actually see all 5 of the top cards. Egyptian Ratslap is usually a much faster game and is usually way more kind of hectic. Furthermore, if you want to debug or if you just want to see what's happening, then you can announce game actions. I'm not going to enable that. Let the rat move independently. Essentially what this does is, rather than having the rat stuck up there, the way the rat works is it is basically a pig with an armor stand riding it, and the armor stand is holding a fishing rod, and it's the fishing rod that's retextured to look like the Egyptian rat. But if you let the rat move independently, now the pig can move independently. So basically, not only do the players have to track what cards are in the middle, they also have to track where the rat is. So you can do this to make things more chaotic if you want to. Also, this switch is incredibly fun. I'm definitely going to enable that, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. So we can push. So if you want to do another round, you don't need to reset anything. You can just push begin the game again. The game will freeze for a little bit just because that distributing cards is kind of an expensive process. By the way, if you're fed up with your situation, you can go over to this panel and grab an identity swapper. So this is a trident where if you strike somebody, it's basically like putting down your cards and then switching places. So you can see here. So you get some lighting, you get some Freaky Friday stuff. At which point, we've essentially swapped. All of our cards have swapped, and all of our tags have swapped. Everything swapped. So the game just proceeds as if nothing ever happened. So yeah, this person is now what I originally was. And now we can see that another player just ran out of cards, and what popped up in their hand is a laser-looking thing. Now we can see another player too currently has a card. Now what can be done about that? Well, another player has a card-stealing laser. So when you have special things involved, when you have special things switched on, you can shoot somebody. You have to shoot somebody twice, at which point, kablam! Another player just stole their card. So you can see there, technically it's still another player 2's turn. Nothing actually changed in the system. But another player now has control over when this card gets played. So it can get played right there. So there you go. That is something that you could do to, I don't know, be petty, cause chaos, whatever. You can shoot people with lasers and steal their cards. Oh, and by the way, if you want to leave the game, one way to do that is to go over to the side panel. So just like another player is about to do, they can go over to the side panel, pick up an identity swapper, and then hit themselves with the identity swapper. So this will, if they can actually do that, this will remove them from the game. It takes a bit of aim, but there we go. Another player has now been removed from the game. So players can't take fall damage, but I just pushed a button so that another player would end up there. So there's command blocks up there. They're retextured, but those are command blocks, and there's a sign with a button there. I wonder what that does. Here we are in a slap situation, but here's the effect. So when I slap this rat, what another player is about to do is push that button. So, bam. What that did was it negated the slap. So, as a spectator, as long as you have special things turned on, you have the ability to negate a slap before it actually goes through and somebody wins cards. So, this is yet another way that you can cause chaos or be vindictive or something like that. So here's what it looks like when the rat is able to move independently. So you can see, kind of looks like they're standing on the ground. It is actually a pig. So here's what the hitbox looks like. Oops. Here's what the hitbox looks like. Kind of takes over the main body of that rat. So that is what you have to hit in order for a slap to count. Okay, here we go. I have the opportunity to win some cards. So now I gotta slap the rat, and now the rat can actually move around. So Because it's a pig, it's a passive animal, so it will start panicking and moving around. Hey, bro, can you take my place? Yeah, sure, bro. Psh. Hey, bro, I can take your place back. Okay, sure. Yeah, this is something I could not program out. So this is why we have the resummon the rat button. You may need to let the rat move independently button switch a couple times in order to release the rat again. But yeah, that's why we have a resummon the rat button. Also, I think that is hilarious, and therefore I'm not fixing that. And if there's no game going on, this is what it looks like when the card is just dropped on the ground. It's kind of cool. So there you go. That is how to play Egyptian Ratslap when you have card stealing lasers and you have slap negation and also the rat moving independently and just other things that, I mean, Egyptian Ratslap already causes just unbridled chaos. It's almost like Uno with your family, but this time that chaos just gets cranked up when you add on card stealing lasers and things like that. So there you go. The Card Game Hub now has 2 games that you can play, Chinese Poker and Egyptian Ratslap. So once again, you can join the server by this URL. So there you go. Now, I would like to warn you that currently these games, they can be played simultaneously. Like, you can have some people playing Chinese Poker and some people playing Egyptian Ratslap at the same time. But that's going to slow down the server significantly, simply because Chinese Poker has one function that will take forever to run, and that could seriously slow down Egyptian Ratslap. Also, the leaderboards that you can see on the side, as far as I can tell, you can't isolate those between data pack dimensions. So I'm going to have to figure out how to make that actually happen. It might require a multi-server network kind of situation. But in either case, you can play both games. All accessible here on the Card Game Hub. So, invite your friends over. Let's play. I'll see you next time.